My fiancé blocked me on the morning of our wedding, leaving only a heartbreaking letter that simply said, "Sorry." Here's how I discovered the truth. I'm 27, and I first met my fiancé, who was 28, at a music festival. She was there with her group of friends, and I was with mine. We struck up a conversation about our favorite musicians and bands, and before we knew it, we had formed a connection. The festival lasted a week, and I found it hard to walk away from her because I was so drawn to her. When she suggested that we stick together for the entire festival, I jumped at the chance. She blended our groups of friends, and we decided to attend all the events together as one big crew. It was a wonderful experience. We all had so much in common since we were from the same city. There was no awkwardness, and everyone seemed to enjoy the new friendships we had formed. I had never believed in love at first sight until I met her. It was almost overwhelming how much I liked her and how much I wanted to be around her. As the festival drew to a close, I dreaded saying goodbye. I didn't want to scare her off by revealing my feelings, especially since we had only known each other for 5 days. To my surprise, she felt the same way. She approached me and expressed how much she would hate not to see me again, and that she too was dreading the end of the festival. I was completely taken aback when she confessed her feelings. I could have cried. I told her I would love to see her again and that I felt the same way. We were both relieved to establish that there wouldn't be a goodbye at the end of the week. We exchanged numbers with the whole group, eager to hang out after the festival. We also shared addresses, and while her place was a bit farther from mine, some of her friends lived closer to me, so we knew it wouldn't be hard to stay in touch. As soon as we got home from the festival, I received a call from her asking me out on a date. I was thrilled that she didn't wait long to ask me out. We went on several dates, and I was pleasantly surprised that the magic from the festival hadn't faded. We still liked each other just as much. A few dates turned into many, and before we knew it, we were in a committed relationship. I got to know her friends better, and she became familiar with mine. We often hung out with each other's friends, and even though she had a large group, we frequently ended up spending time with her best friend and his boyfriend. I could see how close the three of them were, having grown up together, but they never made me feel like an outsider. They welcomed me into their small circle with open arms, and the four of us formed a tight-knit group apart from our other friends. It was a lovely experience. I had never had friends so close. Her best friend had been with his boyfriend since their school days, and their wholesome love story often brought tears to my eyes. My fiancée, on the other hand, had always felt like the third wheel, and I couldn't help but laugh when she shared that with me. I assured her that she wouldn't be anyone's third wheel anymore. Her eyes sparkled with sincerity when she told me she loved me, and I echoed her feelings. From the very beginning, I knew she was the woman I wanted to spend my life with. Even though I thought we were moving a bit fast, I never panicked about the big life decision. We moved in together after dating for 11 months, which was a first for me. I had never shared a home with any of my previous partners, but when she asked, I jumped at the chance and said yes immediately. There was a nagging voice in the back of my mind telling me it was all happening too quickly, but I brushed it aside. Her best friend and his boyfriend helped us move in, and they were the first guests we entertained in our new home. It was a cozy evening with takeout, but something felt off. Her best friend's boyfriend was acting strangely aloof. He was unusually quiet, and I wondered if he was having issues in his relationship. He barely spoke all night and seemed visibly down. Even though we were good friends, I didn't press him to confide in me, knowing he might prefer to talk to his boyfriend instead. I decided to end the evening early, and they left before 9 p.m. I asked my fiancée if she knew what was going on with them, but she didn't have any insight. She reassured me that it was probably nothing and that they would work it out, as they always did. They had been together for too long not to figure things out, she said, and I believed her because she knew them much better than I did. Initially, things were a bit hectic. I should have been more aware of the signs. I trusted too easily. Perhaps I was naive or simply didn't pay attention to what was happening right in front of me. I had grown too comfortable in my life, believing I was safe and that my fiancé would never let anything happen to me. How wrong I was. Between our proposal and the date we set for our wedding, we didn't spend much time with her best friend and his boyfriend like we usually did. My fiancé mentioned they were having relationship issues, so it seemed best to give them some space. I was busy with wedding preparations anyway, so I didn't mind that much. As our wedding day approached, I noticed my fiancée becoming a bit distant. Whenever I asked her about it, she never confided in me. I thought maybe she was just nervous or having cold feet, so I let it slide. She assured me that everything was fine and that I had nothing to worry about. I returned to planning the wedding, but then my whole world turned upside down on the day of the ceremony. I was in the groom's suite all morning, getting ready. We obviously weren't supposed to see each other, but I texted her and didn't receive a reply. I didn't think much of it at first, but as the ceremony drew closer, I became restless. I just wanted to hear her voice to calm my nerves. I called her, but her phone was off. That struck me as odd. Why would her phone be off right before our wedding? I sent her another text, but it didn't go through. I checked my phone, and everything seemed fine because my friend replied immediately. I couldn't understand what was happening, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. The red flags started flying when her best friend knocked on my door, looking distressed. I invited him in, but he was unusually silent, which made me uneasy. I asked him what was wrong, and he looked like someone had run over him. He told me that my fiancée was gone. I actually laughed at him because it sounded ridiculous. Why would she leave when we were supposed to be married in less than an hour? He told me to sit down, and I did. He handed me an envelope, and I took it with shaky hands. As I opened it, I found a letter addressed to me and her best friend. We read it together, and it started with an apology, as if that would make everything better. She wrote that she had been in love with her best friend's boyfriend for a long time, and he had finally accepted that there was something between them. They had run off together. She explained how they had been seeing each other behind our backs and made a pact to end their respective relationships to explore where their feelings could take them. She wrote that they weren't going to act on the pact, but she couldn't go through with the wedding when she was in love with someone else. Tears streamed down my face as I read her words. Her best friend sat next to me, holding my trembling body for comfort. He urged me to flip the page, and I did. The pact was written on the back, complete with 2 signatures. It was absurd that they had actually written it down. It contained the usual declarations of love and how they couldn't live without each other, and it wouldn't be right to continue their previous relationships. The last sentence hit me the hardest. She wrote that she thought I and her best friend would make a great couple and suggested we consider getting married instead, so my wedding planning wouldn't go to waste. She claimed she didn't want us to suffer and that we could help each other through our breakups. The audacity of that woman was astounding. I was heartbroken and helpless, but above all, I was enraged. She did this to me and had the nerve to suggest I marry her best friend. She pulled this on our wedding day and then tried to act like she cared about me and her best friend. I tried to call her again, but her best friend told me she had blocked us both. I was at a loss for what to do. What can one do when their life turns into a soap opera? I kept replaying all the moments I had suspected something was off and then let it go. Was it my foolishness that led me here? Should I have done something differently to prevent my life from becoming a complete shambles? I hibernated for almost 3 months after the wedding fiasco. I didn't want to face anyone, I felt so stupid. My friends mostly left me alone to lick my wounds, and it was horrible. Heartbreak is a terrible thing. I cried myself to sleep every night. I tried to call her repeatedly, but I was still blocked. I just wanted answers. I was going crazy, thinking that maybe I should have done something differently, and we wouldn't be in this situation. I kept blaming myself because I didn't get any closure. I realized how much I had been isolating myself, and it wasn't healthy. My friend insisted that we start having dinner or game nights again. It seemed like a ridiculous idea at first. We used to do that with our exes before they both betrayed us. But he reassured me that we didn't need anyone else to enjoy dinner or play games, 2 people were enough. Maybe I was feeling too lonely, or perhaps he looked lonely too. I'm not sure what it was, but I ended up saying yes. It was time I started seeing him as my friend and not just my fiancée's best friend. He was my friend, and I was allowed to have dinner with him. So that's what we did that night. We had dinner, played silly games, and didn't mention the other 2. To update you all, yes, I have become very close friends with my ex's ex-best friend. It's a mouthful, I know. We had dinners and game nights for almost 6 months, just the two of us, before he finally asked me out on a date. I had started to develop feelings for him, but I wasn't sure if he felt the same way, so I kept quiet until he asked me himself. When he did, I said yes. We had grown very close over those months because we understood what each other was going through. We were both heartbroken and, in a way, we healed each other. It felt natural that we would move on together. We did hang out with our other friends, but none of them knew exactly what was going on between us. We were the only two people who fully understood each other's pain. I was genuinely happy that I was finally moving on, especially with this great guy who had become such a close friend. The whole broken engagement and being stood up on my wedding day was an awful experience, and I never thought I would be able to go out on a date like a normal person again. Over the last 6 months, we talked about our exes and how everything affected us. He confided in me about how he lost both his boyfriend and his friend in one day. It was chaotic for both of us to discuss it, but getting our feelings out in the open and sharing them helped us move on. He took me out to a nice dinner, and I honestly thought it would be awkward, but it felt so natural. We had been having dinner together for a while, but switching from friendship to dating didn't feel forced at all. We were both so comfortable in each other's presence, and it turned out to be the best date of my life. We ate, laughed, and it was perfect. He felt the same way. He wanted to take me out again and was equally happy that we had found each other after the chaos we had both experienced. In another update, my ex contacted me, and I also made things official with my new boyfriend. We didn't rush into making it official until we had been dating for almost 3 months. We wanted to take our time, unlike what I did with my ex-fiancée. I was scared to have a boyfriend again after my last experience, but he wore me down. I couldn't believe I had once seen him as my ex-fiancée's best friend while he was my friend too, and now he was my boyfriend. I felt a bit embarrassed that I hadn't seen him that way until he asked me out. I was genuinely happy with my life. We had moved far past the pain of our past relationships. We worked through our issues together, and it didn't create any problems between us. He even joked about how we had made my ex-fiancée's wishes come true since she had said in her letter that we would make a great couple. We had reached a point where we could laugh about our past. We were no longer heartbroken, and I think we both played a significant role in healing each other from the scars our exes had left. We told our friends and family about our relationship, and they were genuinely happy for us. I couldn't have been happier, even after everything we had gone through. But then it all came crashing down when I received a call from my ex-fiancée. I had deleted her number after our breakup, so I didn't recognize the caller. When I picked up, it was shocking to hear her voice after so long. I froze for a good 5 minutes before I gathered enough courage to listen to what she was saying. She rambled on about how happy she was that I picked up, how much she missed me, and how sorry she was for leaving like that. I listened for a few minutes without saying anything, and then I hung up. I couldn't bring myself to say anything to her, and I didn't want to have a conversation with her anyway, so I cut the call before she could say anything else. After I regained my composure, I immediately called my boyfriend and told him everything. When I got home, I reminded her that I wasn't her friend anymore, and she seemed taken aback. She stood at our door, talking about how he had left her, and how they couldn't make their relationship work. She expressed regret for leaving us both and said she needed her friends back. My boyfriend could see how anxious and uncomfortable I was getting, so he stepped in. She told him that we were finally happy without her, and he simply replied, yes. The audacity she had to look hurt after that was astonishing. We told her that we wanted her to leave and not to call or text us anymore. We weren't her friends, and we would never be her friends in the future. The best thing she could do for us now was to leave us alone. She got the message loud and clear, but she didn't miss the chance to be nasty one last time. She told me that I hadn't wasted any time moving on and that I had quickly bagged her best friend. It felt like a slap in the face. My boyfriend shot back that at least one couple should adhere to her so-called pact since the cheaters couldn't make it work. He told her that we were just playing by her rules. That shut her up, and she left with her head hung low. It's been 2 years since that confrontation at our doorstep, and life has taken some unexpected turns. My boyfriend and I moved to a different part of the city, partly to avoid any more surprise visits from her, but mostly because we were ready for a fresh start. We found a cozy apartment with a small balcony where we grow herbs and spend our Sunday mornings drinking coffee together. Last month, through a mutual friend, we learned that my ex-fiancée and her affair partner had a messy breakup in another city. Apparently, their relationship crumbled under the weight of guilt and mistrust. Who would have thought that two people who started their relationship by cheating would end up with trust issues? The irony wasn't lost on us, but neither my boyfriend nor I felt any satisfaction from their misery. We had moved so far beyond the chapter of our lives that it felt like hearing about strangers. My boyfriend proposed last week. It wasn't a grand gesture or an elaborate setup, just us in our pajamas making breakfast together. He told me he had been carrying the ring around for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment, but then realized that every moment with me felt perfect. I said yes before he even finished asking. We both burst out laughing when he mentioned that this time, he was absolutely certain neither of us would leave the other at the altar. We're planning a small wedding, nothing like the elaborate affair I had planned with my ex. This feels more authentic. Morris, my future husband, I'm still getting used to calling him that, suggested we have the wedding in the community garden where we had our fifth date, the one where we got caught in the rain and ended up sharing our first kiss under his umbrella. The best part is that we're not rushing. We're taking our time, enjoying being engaged and planning everything together. Sometimes, late at night, I think about how different this engagement feels from my last one. There are no nagging doubts, no red flags I'm choosing to ignore, just a peaceful certainty that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, with exactly who I'm supposed to be with. Last week, we ran into his ex-boyfriend at a coffee shop. It was awkward for about 3 seconds before my fiancée squeezed my hand, and we walked right past him. Later, we realized we didn't feel anything, no anger, no hurt, not even resentment. Just nothing. That's when we knew we had truly healed. We're thinking about adopting a dog. My fiancé thinks it's good practice for eventually starting a family, though we both agree that's still a few years down the road. For now, we're happy building our life together, one day at a time. Sometimes, the best love stories come from the ashes of the worst heartbreaks. To everyone who followed our story from the beginning, thank you for your support. To anyone going through something similar, it gets better. The pain doesn't last forever, and sometimes life has a funny way of giving you exactly what you need, even if it comes packaged in what initially feels like your worst nightmare. My fiancé is calling me to help him pick paint colors for our new home office. We're turning it into a shared space because, unlike my ex, we actually enjoy spending time together. Life is good, and I couldn't be happier that she left me at the altar that day. Sometimes, the worst things that happen to you turn out to be the best things that could have happened for you.